and they want every vote, so they are a lot more open to meetings and perhaps speaking to your coalitions. So this might be a good time to schedule someone. It might be a little late in the game, but if you can get them to come and talk about alcohol and drug issues, or you go into their district office and speak to them, I think they would highly appreciate that. Fantastic opportunity to start establishing that that relationship with your legislator. So some of the things, however, with them on recess and this being an election year, there will be what is called a lame duck session, which will be the session that when the legislature does get back, they will really rush bills through. Some of the bills that we will be looking at, number one is House Bill 501. That was actually, it will be rewritten. We talked about it a little bit last time. So hydro is a more powerful opiate than like OxyContin and those types of things. It was approved by the FDA, and Ohio, Representative Smith and Representative Sprague would like to ban that in Ohio. However, after hearing some testimony from, I think, the Ohio Pharmacy Board, they are not allowed to ban it in Ohio because states do not have the allowance to ban federally okayed substances, which makes no sense because states can allow marijuana, which is federally banned. So it makes little to no sense. But with that being said, they're going a different direction and really restricting the uses of hydro. Again, really powerful opiate, high tendency for addiction if not used properly. And I think some of that will include very low dosages that will actually be prescribed as far as the count. These are pills, so the counts that will be given out, you won't get a 30-day supply. You might get a 5-day supply, a 3-day supply, maybe in hospitals only. So they're really trying to limit the access and availability of this drug. But House Bill 501 will have to be rewritten to include these types of things, since if it would have passed, it would have been illegal on federally, and so it was a mess. But that is something that they're really looking for in the next session, which will probably start in October. A bill that was just introduced was House Bill 598, entertainment districts. We've heard this 100 times in the last 3 or 4 years. These are districts where 50,000 or more people, so it's a municipality with 50,000 or more people, you would be able to have a municipal entertainment district. What is a municipal entertainment district? Well, it's a half-mile by half-mile contained area. That's the maximum amount of space that can be given to this. And like it sounds, it's entertainment, whatever that means, bars or restaurants or arenas or concert settings, whatever. But what is interesting is that this district would be exempt from open container law. So you can have this inside a municipality, this area, and you can carry around any kind of alcohol. The only thing that they say is that the half-mile by half-mile space has to be contained, so there has to be some kind of fence or some kind of containment thing with it. So, and that no person can enter another establishment with an open container. So you can walk around the entertainment district, but don't go into another person's bar or restaurant with the open container. And I think that protects the businesses so that they can sell their alcohol. The other piece that I thought was interesting was that if there's a 300,000 population, which would, I guess, be somewhere a little smaller than Toledo, you could have 3 entertainment districts in this 300,000 population area. So you can have more than you can have more than one. Another piece of interesting fact on this is that the way the bill is written, that if you can have one from 50,000 to 150,000, but after the 150,000, then you can have 3. So it's pretty interesting. But again, this is another concern for us. As in the language, there is nothing about penalties. There's nothing about how this is policed. Whether there is people walking around with security that making sure that kids aren't getting this. Open container opens up a whole avenue of being able to pass it on to kids, just kind of walking around, those types of things. So we really are concerned about this. This has, again, been introduced a number of times over the last few years and is really an issue that is pushed heavily by the alcohol industry to open up more opportunities for liquor sales. So this is, as we get updates from about this, we will certainly keep everyone out in the field updated. But wanted to bring this up and to let everyone know that especially if you live in a city, that this could be a very real possibility in your municipality. Another bill that just actually got introduced yesterday was House Bill 609. Marlene Anielski from the Cleveland area, she authored the Suicide Awareness Prevention Programming Bill last year, and it was passed where school districts, high schools, middle schools, had to have suicide prevention training and some kind of suicide programming in their schools, a lot of it done through a national group. And what she wants to do is she wants to expand on that and actually implement suicide awareness prevention training into the college setting on college campuses. So what she wants to do is what the school would have to do, would be required to do, is to make sure that they have easy access for students to health clinics about suicide awareness, hotlines, mental health counseling, all of this kind of stuff. So this is, I don't know where this is going, but this was just introduced, and it's an opportunity for folks to talk more about suicide prevention and other issues dealing with that, which kind of leads me into my next slide. As we know, Robin Williams, of course, if you lived under a rock, I guess you didn't know this, but Robin Williams passed away, they think, by suicide yesterday. And the only reason I bring that up is, not just to say he was a great actor and a good comedian and all of that, but also I think this is a fantastic opportunity. Derek and I were talking about it this morning. A fantastic opportunity to do some advocacy surrounding mental health, wellness, and addiction prevention. He was in a depressed state. He had battled depression for many, many years. Robin Williams had, and he also had problems with alcohol and cocaine, but primarily his problem was alcohol addiction, to which he was still trying to learn to get sober. He had been sober for 20 years, but he had to. He was recently released, I guess, back in July, from trying to become sober again, or get some more tools to help his sobriety. Alcohol was a big problem for this guy. Funny guy. This is the picture on your screen is kind of how I know. How a lot of people know him. Kind of a wacky, zany, happy fella, but he really was battling depression and addiction issues. This is a fantastic opportunity to write a letter to the editor, to maybe contact your radio station to talk a little bit. Obviously none of us know or knew Robin Williams, at least I don't think so, but it's a great opportunity to really, really enforce and force people to think about mental health wellness. making sure that we take care of each other, that to maybe even get out what's some signs and symptoms of that a loved one may be struggling with, and also about addiction. That this is, addiction is a pretty it's a pretty big killer in this country, and this is something, again, this man, very, very funny man, struggled with his entire life. Great opportunity to advocate for these for the issues that we care about. So wanted to, I think we will write something. If you do it, I would do it in the next 2 days, in the next day or two, just as the news is hot, because after that, how news cycles go, there will be another big crisis or something. So this is the time to really, really advocate for mental health wellness and prevention. And actually treatment as well. So the next slide we have, powdered alcohol. House Bill 594 looks to ban powdered alcohol in the state of Ohio. This, again, looks to move really, really quickly. I was at a coalition meeting of statewide partners. Matt, I think, is on it. We have, I'm trying to think who's on this thing. Anyway, it's statewide partners, and there usually aren't liquor control commissions on it. A member of the alcohol industry is on this commission. A couple lobbyists, drug-free action alliances, but they did an update on the status of powdered alcohol, the powdered alcohol ban, and a gentleman from the Wholesaler Beer and Wine Association actually gave the update, and he said it looks to move quickly. However, like all pieces of really, really simple legislation, there's an opportunity for people to add amendments to it. And you have to watch this. I remember back in my Hope Taft days, we just wanted, it was a simple line that made the third week of September Parents' Week in Ohio. However, people came out of the woodwork because this was a pretty non-controversial bill. This is somewhat non-controversial, powdered alcohol banning. But it was a non-controversial bill, and legislators try to slip things that have nothing to do with Parents' Week, nothing to do with powdered alcohol in this case, onto these bills to get more controversial subjects passed through legislature, attach it to this really, really easy bill that would be passed, and get their agenda passed as well. Some of the there is an amendment that was brought up by this coalition that there needs to be something to do with penalties. Even though that it would ban the sale of powdered alcohol in the state of Ohio, there were no penalties added. So if you banned it, what do you do with it? If someone was caught from it, if it's sold in Pennsylvania, you brought it here, you try to sell it in a local gas station or whatever, what are the penalties? Someone brought that up, so there may be an amendment on penalties. The amendment that I don't see could be added because it might be a little more was consumption. The consumption of powdered alcohol, possession and consumption, that is a little more controversial to some folks. So we are going to try to work with some folks to get on language for penalties to be added. And I know that the wholesalers are also working on that. The Wholesalers Beer and Wine Association are working about that too. And down at the bottom you can see some of the different kinds of powdered alcohol. You've got vodka, rum, kamikaze, cosmopolitan, and lemon drop. So that's actually some of the flavors that this Palcohol company would add. And we, on a federal level, we should actually hear more about whether this is going to be legal in the United States. The TTB, Tax and Trade Bureau, have stopped this right now because of some labeling concerns, and we want to see whether this gets banned at the federal level. I know Senator Chuck Schumer from New York and a couple other senators have really been pressing on the TTB and maybe the FDA, DEA to push that this be a banned product in the United States. So there's no bill or anything because it's going through the process. But if this is legalized, then I look for probably Senator Schumer at the federal level to push a bill. So wanted to give you an update on that. We do have a powdered alcohol work group, and we will if you would like to be a part of that. It's a conference call only. That's not travel or anything. But if you'd like to be a part of that, give myself, Derek, or Emily an email. Just let us know. There's, I think, 7 of us on it right now, and we're coming up with talking points for different sectors of the community. One of the things that I get asked quite a bit, one of the questions I get asked is how are the comparisons between Colorado and Washington? What does it mean to have marijuana, legalized in these 2 states? Are there differences? Are there programs the same? And on the grand scale, they're actually pretty different. So what I thought I would do, since it's kind of a downtime in the Ohio State House, that we would actually, I just go through this and to kind of compare what is allowed, what's legal in Colorado and what's legal in Washington. And I go over Colorado first. They actually opened their stores January 1st of 2014. And if you're a medical patient, so you're still under the medical marijuana law, you can buy 2 ounces of marijuana. Now you have to go into the you have to go into a medical store. There are 2 different types of stores. There's the medical pot dispensaries and there's the recreational pot dispensaries. The medical, you have to have your card. The recreational, you do not. So a patient can actually get 2 ounces of marijuana, and if an ounce of marijuana is 54 joints, so you can have about 128 joints. You can walk out with that much marijuana for a person, or 108. What's 54 times 2? I'm not good at math. 108. I said 128. So maybe you roll them thin. I don't know. But 108 joints with the 2 ounces. And a citizen, the recreational pot shops, can sell you an ounce of marijuana. Now, that is if you're a citizen of the state, not if you're a citizen of the United States. If you're a visitor, if you're going from Ohio, if you're going from any other state, Alaska, Hawaii, to Colorado, you can actually get a 1/4 ounce. So you can actually go there, get it. What was interesting at CADCA, I had an opportunity to talk to Tom Gorman, who is the Rocky Mountain High-Intensity Drug Trafficking Area head director, I guess he is. He said that about 40% of all the marijuana sold in Colorado is by a visitor to the state. It's not citizens. And if you go up into the mountains, so if you go to Aspen or some of the other ski resorts, about 90% of the marijuana is bought by visitors from another state. Some of the other pieces of the Colorado law is infused products. So if you have marijuana-infused products, I've done some stuff with I haven't done the stuff, but I mean I've done some talks and presentations on infused products, so the candy bars, the drinks, all of these types of things. The infused products cannot contain nicotine or alcohol, so you can't have an alcohol-marijuana beverage combination. They have to be separate. What's interesting is even though you get your 1 ounce, you can go drop it off in the car and go back in and get another ounce. So you can make multiple visits daily. There's not a restriction on how many visits you can make in a day. You can keep on going in. So if you just, go out to your car, come back in, go out to your car, come back in. You can do that. There's nothing in the language that says you cannot make multiple visits daily. Also, what's interesting, they're trying to get legislation passed now in Colorado because they have ATMs in those in pot shops, and what people were doing was taking their food stamp card and somehow being able to use public funds to buy their marijuana. So they're right now trying to pass legislation so you can't use your public assistance card to purchase marijuana in the state of Colorado, which is different than California. Which, if you didn't see this, and I'm going off topic, but California, Berkeley actually passed a law that said poor people can get their medicinal marijuana for free. So you can get an ounce of marijuana. The city pays for it, and the growers have to set aside 2% of their entire yield for this free marijuana that they sell to the city. The city gives it away to poor people so they can deal with their pain. Again, that's in Berkeley, California. But going back to Colorado, there is a 25% tax rate. So what's interesting is High Times Magazine did an article and said that about 60% of the weed is still underground because people don't want to pay the tax. So it's still black market. This was supposed to wipe out the black market. It hasn't. In fact, people are still, the majority of it's still black market weed. If you can get, $400 ounce of marijuana for $300 at the from a dealer, if you're if you're cost sensitive, then you'll probably buy it from the dealer there. There's 136 stores that are allowed to be in Colorado for recreational. I think there's like 550 that can be medicinal shops, but there's 136 recreational shops that can be opened up in Colorado. You can give it away as a gift. So if you have that hard person to shop for at Christmas, you can give it away as a Merry Christmas, I guess. You can also grow your own, which kind of is odd to me. If you're going to set up this whole system and tax, I don't know how you make any tax money off of the grow your own type of plant. So you can have 3 plants there. Medical shops, because can switch to recreational shops, but many folks are staying with the medical because it's only a 2% tax compared to 25%. It's easier, a lot cheaper. So interestingly enough, a lot of people are still just becoming the medical pothead instead of the recreational. There's also delivery service available. I've seen apps that you can actually download onto your Android or iPhone that contacts this, whatever group is in Colorado, and they will actually deliver it to your door. And you can smoke in your homes. There was a big controversy about whether people were smoking marijuana on their front porches, and they were saying, well, this is my home, and a judge did side with them that a front porch is included in your house, so you can smoke it on your front porch because that is, according to the judge that ruled on that, that is part of your house. Washington, they actually opened their pot shops. They're recreational. Their first one was July 8th of this year, so a little over a month ago. And a 1 ounce, any person can have 1 ounce, and that's for recreational. That includes visitors. So if you go out there, you're a visitor, you can buy an ounce. If you're a citizen, you can buy an ounce. You can have maximums of a 16-ounce solid infused product. So you can have a pound of brownies, I guess, the way that is figured out. Or you can have 72 ounces. I don't know how big a big gulp is, but I think it's probably half of a big gulp, because I think I've seen 144-ounce drinks, which I think are just enormous. But you can have a 72-ounce liquid-infused product. So you can have your, I guess, marijuana big gulp if you'd want it. There is no language on nicotine or alcohol, whether you can have that infused into a product as well. So I guess it would be legal to have an alcohol/pot beverage in that state. What is really, really difficult for, in my opinion, for the black market to be squashed in Washington is there's a 25% tax rate at each level. They have set this, they set the legal pot industry in Washington up a three-tier system, a lot like alcohol here in Ohio and the 48 other states. Interestingly enough, Washington does not have a three-tier system because they deregulated alcohol. But they decided to, for pot, stay with the regulated three-tier system. What's interesting is the tax rate. You get a 25% tax rate at each level. So when you make it, you're charged 25% tax. When you sell it to the middleman, which is the distributor, you're given a 25% tax. And at the end, when you buy it, you have to pay a 25% tax. So there's actually a 75% tax from growth to sales there. So it's a really, really high tax level, and it's one of the major complaints about the industry in Washington. In Washington, you can have 334 recreational pot shops in the state, so it's almost triple what you can have in Colorado. Sadly, Christmas, you cannot give it away as a gift in that state. You can't grow your own. You can't have a bunch of pot plants or 3 pot plants in your house or anything. And actually, what's interesting is in Washington, they're trying to, because medical marijuana is so much cheaper, the recreational marijuana folks are trying to put the medical folks out of business. And they've gotten a couple of legislators to say that medical marijuana is a sham, to try to ban medical marijuana in Washington and just make everything recreational. Again, we have delivery service available in Washington, and you can smoke in your homes. You can also smoke marijuana in clubs, which is different from Colorado as well. You can have a marijuana club. And what I just thought was interesting that was brought up through one of the trade magazines was that there's language written into the Washington law that marijuana, that hotels can elect to have up to 25% of their hotel rooms be marijuana smoking rooms. So you can't have tobacco in a lot of these rooms or smoking rooms, but you can elect to have marijuana smoking rooms in the state of Washington, which is not legal in Colorado. I don't know how you police that in Colorado. Because, I mean, I hate to say it, at CADCA, I watched a guy smoke marijuana on his balcony at the Gaylord in D.C. But that's interesting that, to me anyway, that hotels have that right. So those are kind of the differences and the similarities between the 2 pot laws in these 2 states. So I hope that clears up and helps clarify some of those. Finally, wanted to get to the Rally for Recovery is going to be September 16th down at the Ohio State House. The Ohio Citizen Advocates for Addiction Recovery actually host that. There's usually a couple hundred people there. They focus on advocacy in recovery circles. They celebrate recovery. It's, again, 11:30 to 1:30. It's a good time to come down over your lunch hour or whatever and celebrate with these folks who've overcome addiction. I know that it is never a process that is stopped. It's a day-to-day. Recovery is day-to-day. So, to help celebrate, it might be a good time to just be a partner with folks on that day. So September 16th. Didn't know if there were any questions or anything. I don't even know what time it is.
We do have one question so far, so if you do have questions, please enter your question into the question section of your GoToWebinar navigation panel. And the question is, do you have any news to report regarding the Ohio Certified Peer Supporters?
No, I don't. There's not been anything as far as that has went on that I've heard of. I don't know if Emily or Derek have any news on that, but I have not heard anything from the State House about Ohio certified peer supporters.
And I don't have anything to add because I've not heard anything either. And Emily's shaking her head no. So we will investigate that and see for the next call, which will be on September 9th, if we can see if there's any movement on that. There are no other questions at this time. Again, September 9th, we will resume for the September edition of the Advocacy webinar. So please join us at 10 o'clock then, and Tony will send out a reminder. For the time being, if you have questions that pop up or need additional information, feel free to email any of us here at Drug Free Action Alliance. Tony for Advocacy is your contact guy at tcoder@drugfreeactionalliance.org. Again, we'll see you or talk to you on September 9th at 10 o'clock. Thank you so much, and have an enjoyable rest of the summer, and get those kiddos back in school. Talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.